When I started working with co-parents, I did it very deliberately because I was working with a lot of kids in therapy and their families were going through divorce. And I realized that I could not help these kids without stabilizing their parents. And so I worked really hard to figure out how can I get these parents to stabilize their relationship, themselves, the way they're dealing with their community, so that these kids could feel more stable and just get through this transition that was happening in their family instead of it being created into a trauma. So most people think that co-parenting ends once you have a custody plan and if you've talked about all the logistics and if you've separated and moved homes and figured out the calendar, but that's not true because co-parenting and parenting in general and raising a family is very emotional. It's very qualitative. So whether you're able to continue to get along and have this project, this mission of raising these kids together, is a question. So there's all different ways to deal with it if you can't, for sure. If you're not capable of doing it or one of the parties isn't capable, then we have some other work to do. But if you are coming to co-parenting, and most of the parents that I see that come to co-parenting are really wanting to do what's right by their family. They just realize that they cannot live in this couple relationship, that it's not supportive of raising a family within. Maybe there's too much conflict, maybe there's too much difference, maybe there's too much incompatibility. And that's okay because we don't always know who we are when we marry the person that we're going to raise kids with. And we don't get to have always that vision of how we wanted to raise a family. That doesn't happen for all of us. And that is okay. We can deal with that and progress. So, what if co parenting isn't just about the kids? What if it's about how you grow as humans together in the mission of raising a family? What about that? And so I like to introduce this concept of the three pillars. One of them is life stages. The second is the whole family lens, how we look at the whole family, and then your own personal growth. So let me break it down. So life stages is parenting looks very different depending on what stage of development your child is in, and also what stage of development in life you're in. So if you're late in your career and you had kids late, life is gonna look very, very different for you and your kids than it would be for someone in their early 20s, just starting out with their career or starting out with a family and raising really young kids. And if the space or the time that you start to separate from the other parent was during a early stage of your children's life, elementary school stage, or tween and launching off teenage stage, the way that you parent, the issues that you have to contend with, the way that you work together will also change. And so it's really important for me as a clinician to take all of those into account. So I have a mediation background and I can simply and always do create agreements and ways that we can sort of counter logistical problems in the family. But as a clinician, I really look at these three pillars to really figure out what the family stressors are and what the family challenges are. I look at it as there must be a solution to this unique group of people and the way that they're trying to raise their kids because everybody's unique and does it differently and is influenced by different facets of life. So these three pillars are really important to consider. And the second one is about the whole family lens. So when I look at a family, I look at their support system, I look at extended family systems, who are the family members that are involved or not involved. I look at family of origin issues for each parent. What were their models of relationship? How did they see their families raising kids? How did they see their families doing conflict? How did they see their families doing long-term relationships? All of that plays a role because there is the family of origin baggage and strengths that come into every long-term relationship that you're in. The other is how you interface with community. So sometimes people have very close community around them. Sometimes they're a very nuclear, isolated family system. Sometimes they have pockets of different places where they have support, church, or activities like athletic activities or sort of, seasonal sports. So there's all sorts of ways that families get supported in the time frame of raising kids. And the other is the extent to which each parent is willing to do their own personal growth. And in our facet of the time that we get to raise our kids, we're growing as human beings also, and we're modeling for them how to be in the world. We're also modeling them how to have different kinds of relationships, intimate, friendship, work relationships, social relationships, how to interact with the grocer, all of that. So we're modeling that. So I really like that to take that into consideration. And it might feel like I just gave you a long-term therapy model, but I gather my information very quickly in an intake appointment with each parent separately. So I get some idea about where each parent is coming from. And then I get to meet you both in a co-parenting session so I can see how you work together, how you speak about things, what issues are important to each of you, because very typically people have very different priorities when they're coming together as co-parents. So this is a bigger look. It's not in-depth therapy. It's kind of therapy with a mediation tilt because we're trying to solve problems and create ways of moving forward and dealing with all the components of life. So, co parenting therapy is one of the ways that you can actually start creating a new vision for your family, creating a new vision for yourself, and how you're going to raise your family in a different paradigm than what you first thought of when you had that child. So I'm really excited that you're going to be continuing to be on this 10 session journey with me to hear all of these concepts about co parenting.